they're online dating, but it's also believable.
Now, when you're talking about these characters, because you're writing 4 different characters from 4 different variations of stories, and I mean, my goodness, these characters are rich. Where do you go to come, like, how do you position yourself in each character's life, basically, to write from that perspective or to write from their point of view? Because I'm telling you, I was completely engulfed in each character, and they were so very, very different. How do you, what's inside your head, basically, that makes you be able to write from this perspective?
As a creator of content, I actually do get to know my characters before I start writing the story. I usually start with the title first, and careful what you click for. I know I'm going to write about online dating, right? And so then I have these characters and they have to speak to me in the moment of what they're doing. So I get to know them like people, right? What they would do, what they wouldn't do. They become real to me. They have a voice. And if you've read any of my books, everybody has money. So I love people with money that have everyday, ordinary issues that people can relate to. And that's what makes my book popular in that sense. But these particular characters' names are everything. Kingston, his name, one character was named something else. And then I said, I don't like that name. So then I named him Cairo because I like Cairo better. Once it fits, they become real.
Gotcha.
It's like naming a baby.
Okay. And I'm just curious because I think I'm creative too, not as creative as this, but when you see them, do you visually see them as people? Do you know what they look like? Is that how far you go with the character?
I do. I have to know what they look like. And not just for myself, for the publisher as well, because the publisher always wants to know, what do the characters look like? For them, for the cover of the book, they want to have an idea. So yes, the physical is equally important, but I even jot down notes. This character is 6'9", he's 220, he's
nice.
This, he's that. For me, some people don't like develop their characters in such a way, but I do, because if I say he's 6'9" on page 29, and then I say he's 6'7", like on 227, the editor, a great editor, is going to catch that.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. And so for someone who writes about sex, a lot, sex and intimacy, how comfortable, and this is just me speaking from teaching women and educating women, because I also see that you are a sex expert as well, and we're going to get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
But I see that you write from the perspective of teaching as well. And so where did you come, or when did you become comfortable with you in your womanhood and in your femininity that's able to speak to these characters in a sexual way like you do? Because I find it absolutely amazing the way you're able to pull out this energy in characters, especially sexual energy.
Well, I thank you. And that's a very good question. I learned early on as a child, I was curious, right? Because all your parents would say, and I was raised by my great aunt, is don't do it, don't do it. And all I heard was that it felt good. So I was like, well, I got to find out for myself. So in my own personal exploration as a teen, because I lost my virginity very, very early, like at 14, very early, thinking I knew what I was doing, but I really didn't. But sex and intimacy has never been, quote unquote, taboo to or for me.
Right.
So, yes. And even in my own personal experiences, it's like I was molested early at 7. I was raped at 16 and 18. And so I've had sexual experience. I was a battered wife. One time happened once. I'm from New Orleans. You don't get to live twice. You better leave if it happens. But even with those things, I understand that with a lot of women, they don't bounce back from that, or they have a hard time with that, or they don't open up and tell somebody, look, this happened to me. And as a writer, I feel like we're more alike than we are different. But the grace of God gave women, like we're fully loaded, Think about a car, and a guy comes with options, right? So we have 7 secretion points. We have all of these different things that our body can do. And so the things that I like to teach and talk about in writing, because it makes it fun for me anyway, when I can sexually liberate someone else through writing, especially my girls.
And let's talk about this sexual liberation for just a few seconds, since we're already there. So I noticed in your writing, and just through having this conversation with you, we have a lot of similarities in common. I broke my virginity at 13. And so I've taken every experience and I share that openly and very candidly in my teachings and in my facility workshops and things of that nature. And I heard you also mention that part of healing is that it's taboo and we don't talk about it. You know, the word is doing it.
Yes.
How has your teachings, either through your works of your books or through speaking to women, basically have you liberated women? Because that's really what it's about. And that's kind of the journey that I'm on now. It's like, okay, it's okay for you to have an orgasm. It's okay for you to talk about how amazing your orgasm is. It's okay to tell him a little to the left. It's okay to say, I'd like it when you really do this. So can you speak to just the women that may be listening now, how liberating it is to find your femininity, your sexuality, and just fall in love with you and your full self?
It's extremely important for women to be comfortable with their body. And the thing that happens a lot of time with us, especially in the African American community, sex is supposed to be taboo. You're not supposed to touch yourself. You're not supposed to enjoy sex. But here's somebody else using your temple that God gave you for their own personal pleasure, but you don't know how to please yourself. So it's very important. And I do teach that. I do classes as well. The vaginal aerobic class, because
we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk, that's coming up. We're gonna talk about that. Yes.
Okay. And so what we do to liberate women, when I say we, I mean both of us, what we do in terms of liberating women is what we need. And we need more women who are willing to do so, because for each woman that becomes liberated, she will help her girlfriend. And if not through telling, a lot of times through showing, because it shows up in your attitude in terms of how comfortable you are with telling a man what you like. That's what we're supposed to do.